People think we cannot move in time, but we are always moving through time, from birth to death. It was a quiet evening in the time traveler's home. The fire burned warmly in the fireplace, casting soft golden light on the walls. Around the table sat a group of curious and educated men, among them a doctor, a psychologist, a writer, and myself. We had gathered, as we often did, for good food, conversation, and the delight of the time traveler's strange and brilliant ideas. That evening, he was more excited than usual. His eyes sparkled, and his hands moved animatedly as he spoke. He had a new theory to share, one that none of us had expected. "You all know about space," he began. "We can move in 3 directions, left and right, forward and backward, up and down. But what if I told you there was a 4th dimension? One we all move through, though we cannot control it." "Time," he said. "Time is the 4th dimension. People think we cannot move in time, but we are always moving through time, from birth to death," the time traveler continued. "But what if we could move through time just like we move through space? What if we could travel forward, minutes, hours, centuries, or even backward?" We exchanged puzzled looks. Some of us laughed a little. He stood and brought out a small object from a cabinet. It looked like a delicate model, made of bright metals, ivory, and crystal levers. "This," he said, "is a model of a machine that can travel through time." We all leaned, fascinated but skeptical. The time traveler placed the model on the table and pressed one of the small levers. In an instant, the machine vanished. It did not fall. It did not break. It simply disappeared. We were stunned. "Where did it go?" someone asked. "Forward in time," he said calmly. "Just a little way. You cannot see it, but it's out there, moving through time." Some of us believed it was a trick. Others began to wonder if he might be serious. The time traveler only smiled and said, "Soon, I will try it with the real machine, and when I do, I will bring back a story that none of you will believe." A week had passed since our evening with the time traveler. We were all eager to hear more about his mysterious machine. That evening, we gathered again at his home, just as before. The table was set. The food was ready, but he was not there. We waited, puzzled, wondering if he had changed his mind. Then, suddenly, the door opened, and he stepped into the room. But he was hardly the man we remembered. His clothes were torn and dirty. His hair was wild, and his face was pale and drawn. There were scratches on his hands and dirt on his skin. He looked like a man who had escaped from a terrible disaster. We jumped up in alarm. The doctor reached out. "Are you hurt?" He shook his head. "No, I am not hurt," he said, his voice low. "But I am very tired and very hungry." We gave him food and wine, and he ate with quiet focus. Then he leaned back, looking at us with tired but intense eyes. "I have been to the future," he said. The room fell silent. "I know it sounds incredible," he added. "But let me tell you what happened, from the beginning." The time traveler narrated his incredible adventure. It started when he returned to his laboratory the day after our first meeting. The full-size time machine was ready. Its brass frame gleamed, and the crystal levers were polished. He climbed into the seat and checked every detail one last time. Then, his heart pounding, he pushed the lever forward. The machine began to move. At first, it was slow. The room around him blurred. The clock hands spun faster. Then, outside the windows, the sun and moon raced across the sky. Days passed in seconds. Seasons flashed by in moments. The world outside changed with dizzying speed. Houses appeared and disappeared. Forests grew and were cut down. Buildings rose and fell. He had no idea how far he had gone until he began to slow down. He quickly pulled back the lever, and the time machine stopped. When he stepped out, he found himself in a strange new world. The air was warm and sweet. The sky had a soft golden hue. It was a place that looked like a big garden with bushes and flowers. In the distance he could see old stone buildings covered in vines. Then he saw them. Small, graceful people with kind faces. They stood at a distance, watching him silently. He had arrived in the year 802-701. The time traveler met the people of this future world. They were called the Eloi. They were beautiful and gentle, almost childlike. They wore soft-colored clothes and lived in great stone buildings that looked like ancient temples. The Eloi lived simple lives. They ate fruit, played in the gardens, and rested under the trees. They did not seem to work. They did not grow food or build anything. Everything they needed was already there. He tried to talk with them, but their language was very limited. They did not seem curious. When he asked questions, they only smiled. They had no fear, no urgency. They seemed to have no sense of purpose. It was a peaceful world, but strange. As he spent more time with them, he began to wonder what had happened to humanity. Did comfort and ease make people weak? Did the future people no longer worry about the struggles of life? The Eloi seemed to live without worries. But something felt wrong. Something was missing. This strange feeling grew stronger as each day passed. The time traveler found out that the time machine was missing. He had hidden it carefully near a statue, but when he got there, it was gone. His heart sank. He searched the area again and again, but there was no sign of it. No drag marks. No clues. He asked the Eloi, but they did not understand. They only laughed or turned away. It was as if they could not even imagine something being stolen. He had hidden the time machine near a large white-winged statue, shaped like a sphinx, a creature with a human face and a lion's body. At the base were two great bronze doors. They had no handles and no visible way to open them. Something about it made him suspicious. The time machine must be behind the closed bronze doors. The Eloi people looked fearful as he tried to open the doors. He shouted, knocked, and banged at the doors. Nothing worked. And so, he was trapped in the future. His time machine was gone. It was behind the locked doors. Whoever had taken it was hiding it from him. Now he had to learn more about this strange world. If he ever wanted to return home, he would need to understand who had taken his machine, and why. While exploring the fields beyond the Eloi's gardens, the time traveler came across a strange circular structure. It looked like a well, with a narrow opening and a metal cover. He had seen several others like it around the place. Curious, he climbed down in one. The shaft was narrow and deep, with metal rungs along the wall. As he descended, he noticed the air getting colder and damp. The darkness thickened. He lit matches to see, and then he saw something moving. In the shadows, he saw pale, ghost-like creatures with large, glowing eyes. They had soft, white skin, long arms, and moved with an eerie quietness. They stared at him. They were not the Eloi. They were the Morlocks. They lived underground, away from the light. He secretly watched them work, operating machines and strange engines. They seemed organized, even intelligent, but something about them was deeply unsettling. Then he understood. Long ago, the human race had split. The Eloi were the descendants of the upper class, who had once lived in comfort above ground. The Morlocks were the descendants of the workers, who had been forced to live and labor below. But things had changed. Now, the Morlocks were strong. They ruled the dark. And at night, they came out. He climbed back up, deeply disturbed. He now knew who had taken his time machine, and he feared what these frightening creatures might do next. After discovering the Morlocks, the time traveler was more cautious. He stayed close to the Eloi during the day and kept watch at night. He noticed how the Eloi people were fearful of darkness. They would stay close and sleep together when the sun set. They never stayed outside after dusk. He was exploring a riverbank when he saw one Eloi girl fall into the water. The others did nothing. They just watched as the girl struggled, drowning. He quickly dove in and pulled her to shore. She was unconscious but alive. After a few minutes, she opened her eyes and smiled weakly. From that moment on, she stayed by his side. Her name was Weena. She was quiet, gentle, and became very attached to him. Wherever he went, she followed. She brought him flowers and held his hand. Though she could barely speak his language, her loyalty was clear. In this strange future world, Weena became his one friend. He thought of bringing her back to his time, as he realized what the Eloi people meant for the Morlocks. He believed that the Morlocks probably ate rats or small animals. But now, they ate the Eloi. They were like farm animals to them. He felt sorry for the Eloi. He also knew that soon he would need to get his time machine back, and the path to finding it would be dangerous. The time traveler wanted to look for weapons as protection from the Morlocks. He heard about a building far away, a huge palace-like structure made of green tiles. He set off, taking Weena with him. They walked for hours across empty fields and quiet ruins. At last, they reached the building. It was enormous, crumbling, and covered in vines. Once, long ago, it had been a great museum. Now it was silent, filled with dust and decay. Inside, he found broken displays. Bones of extinct animals, pieces of machinery, and dusty old books that turned to powder when touched. But some things were still useful. He found a box of matches. He also discovered a long metal rod, which he took as a weapon. He needed something to protect himself from the Morlocks. The building gave him some hope. Even in the distant future, the remains of human knowledge still lingered. He and Weena camped there for the night. For the first time in days, he felt a little safer. The walk through the forest began peacefully enough. The time traveler and Weena moved slowly among the tall, silent trees. The forest was deep and overgrown, with shadows that stretched far across the underbrush. It was quiet, too quiet. He was uneasy. The sun was sinking. The red glow of evening filtered through the branches, turning everything to a strange, eerie color. He knew, as the light faded, that the Morlocks would come. He began gathering dead branches and dry leaves, building a small fire to keep them safe. The flames crackled softly, pushing the darkness back. Weena sat beside him, tired but comforted by his presence. He held her hand, trying not to show how tense he was. Around them, the night crept in. It was not long before he began to hear faint rustling in the bushes. Then came low breaths, quiet movements. There were pale figures in the shadows. The Morlocks had arrived. Suddenly, the fire dimmed. The damp air made the wood burn poorly. He scrambled to relight it, his hands trembling. A match flared, and for a moment he saw their ghostly faces, white, eyeless, reaching. Then chaos broke loose. They surged from the darkness, dozens of them. He swung his iron bar wildly, striking at shadows. He lit a branch on fire and used it as a torch, setting the underbrush ablaze. The forest caught fire quickly. Flames raced up the trunks of trees. Smoke filled the air. Screams echoed from all sides. He fought to protect Weena, calling her name again and again, but in the confusion, she slipped away. He ran through smoke and flame, desperate to find her, but she was gone. When the morning light finally broke, the forest was scorched and lifeless. Charred trees, ash on the wind. The time traveler stood in the ruins, alone. The Morlocks had fled, or were burned. And Weena, the Morlocks must have left her poor little body in the forest fire. He felt sad, heartbroken. He was comforted by the thought that Weena suffered less than if she had been in the hands of the Morlocks. He no longer cared about exploring. He wanted only one thing now, his time machine. The time traveler made his way back to the Sphinx. walking with purpose through the quiet morning. The fields were still, the Eloi people playing in the distance as if nothing had happened. But something had changed. When he reached the white statue, he stopped in surprise. The bronze doors, once sealed tightly, were open. A trap? Perhaps. But he did not care. He stepped inside the dark, cool chamber beneath the statue. His eyes adjusted to the gloom, and there, resting in the center of the room, was the time machine. His heart leapt. He rushed to it, but the moment he touched the controls, the bronze doors slammed shut behind him with a metallic clang. Darkness fell. A low hum echoed from the corners, and then he heard them. The Morlocks. They were crawling from the shadows, surrounding him. They had been waiting. He worked quickly, sweating, his hands shaking as he tried to repair the machine. Wires, levers, gears, all had been tampered with. The creatures closed in, reaching out with pale, twitching fingers. He swung the iron bar one last time, pushing them back. Then he slammed the lever down. The machine groaned, shuddered, and surged forward. In a rush of light, the Morlocks vanished. He had escaped that horrible place. The machine spun through time again, faster than ever. The sky turned from blue to gray, the stars blurred into lines. The earth changed before his eyes. He stopped briefly, in the far future, beyond the year of the Eloi and Morlocks. What he found was not anything he had seen before. The sky was darker now, a deep red. The sun, once bright and golden, had become a huge, dull orb, glowing faintly like a dying coal. The air was thin and cold. The ocean was quiet. There were no cities, no people, just silence and wind. On the beach, he saw strange creatures, large, crab-like beings with long legs and hard shells. They moved slowly, dragging themselves across the sand. There was no intelligence left, no language, no culture. He stayed for a while, watching the final age of Earth. Then he traveled forward once more. The sun dimmed further. The sky turned black. Snow covered everything. The world had grown quiet and still. No life remained. Just the sound of the wind and the ticking of time. It was the end, the final future of Earth, and he wanted no part of it. He returned to the time machine and pulled the lever to go back to his time. The time traveler returned to his laboratory in a sudden blur of light and noise. He stepped out, exhausted, his clothes torn and covered in dirt. His face was older, wiser, and marked by sorrow. He found his guests still waiting at his house. For them, only a few hours had passed. For him, it had been days, years, full of wonder, terror, and loss. He sat down and told his story. Some listened in disbelief. Others watched in silent awe. One or two smiled, thinking it all as a tale, a clever fantasy. But I believed him. There was something in his eyes, something too deep for fiction. He had seen the end of humanity. He had lost a friend. He had faced the darkness of time and survived. The next day I visited him again. He welcomed me with his usual calm voice. "I need to make one more journey," he said. "Just a short one." I watched him go into the laboratory. The time machine hummed. And then he was gone. He never returned. I often wonder where he went. Did he travel into the far past? Did he try to save Weena? Did he go farther into the future, to see if life would rise again? No one knows. All I know is this: he was brave enough to ride time itself, and to face whatever waited at whatever time of the world. And perhaps, out there in the endless reaches of time, he still rides on. That ends the easy-to-read story of The First Time Traveler. Now you can take the quiz, it's easy, but before that, please like and subscribe. Thank you. What did the time traveler believed in? A. Space is more important than time. B. Time is the fourth dimension. C. Machines will take over the future. D. Humanity is doomed. The correct answer is B. Time is the fourth dimension. How did he appear when he returned from his journey? A. Clean and calm. B. Confused but happy. C. Dirty and exhausted. D. Excited and proud. The correct answer is C. Dirty and exhausted. What year did the time traveler visit during his journey? A. 2045. B. 100,000. C. 802, 701. D. 903, 802. The correct answer is C. 802, 701. How did the Eloi live their lives? A. They worked hard and built machines. B. They studied science and history. C. They lived simply and played. D. They followed a leader. The correct answer is C. They lived simply and played. Where did he suspect the machine was hidden? A. In a cave. B. Underground tunnels. C. Inside a statue of a sphinx. D. With the Eloi elders. The correct answer is C. Inside a statue of a sphinx. How did the Morlocks behave? A. Friendly and helpful. B. Intelligent and curious. C. Quiet and dangerous. D. Weak and afraid of light. The correct answer is C. Quiet and dangerous. What was the name of the Eloi girl he saved? A. Willa. B. Lila. C. Weena. D. Mira. The correct answer is C. Weena. What useful things did he find in the huge building? A. A gun and a lantern. B. A map and medicine. C. Matches and a metal rod. D. Books and food. The correct answer is C. Matches and a metal rod. What happened when they walked into the forest at night? A. They saw more Eloi. B. The Morlocks attacked them. C. The time machine is found. D. They started a fire. The correct answer is B. The Morlocks attacked them. What happened to Weena when the Morlock attacked? A. She escaped. B. She hid in a tree. C. She was taken. D. She was never seen again. The correct answer is D. She was never seen again. How did he finally escape the Morlocks? A. He called for help. B. He scared them with fire. C. He started the time machine just in time. D. The Eloi rescued him. The correct answer is C. He started the time machine just in time. What did he find in the far future, beyond the time of the Eloi and Morlocks? A. A new human society. B. A ruined city. C. Giant crab-like creatures and silence. D. A second sun. The correct answer is C. Giant crab-like creatures and silence. What was the world like in Story's far future? A. Hot and noisy. B. Peaceful and full of life. C. Cold, dark, and lifeless. D. Covered in machines. The correct answer is C. Cold, dark, and lifeless. What did the time traveler do after seeing the end of the earth? A. He stayed there. B. He traveled to the past. C. He returned home. D. He wrote a book. The correct answer is C. He returned home. What happened at the end of the story? A. The time traveler destroyed the machine. B. He went on another journey and never returned. C. He stayed with the Eloi. D. He decided never to travel again. The correct answer is B. He went on another journey and never returned.